There you go.
I'm devoting all my brain cells to poetry. That's my excuse.
Wow, that's tough. All right. That's what
Right. Right.
Can I set it?
I'm going to make you co-host again now.
I've already set that one up. I wonder if can I do it too? I already set up the Facebook one.
Yeah, I see it come on live.
Okay, that's cool. All right.
Judy, hello, Roger.
Hello, Michael. How are you?
All right, you made it. Good to see you.
Hey, hey.
Yeah, well, it took a bit of doing, but I did it.
It takes Greg a bit of doing too, but
Hey, doing is my middle name.
Good to hear.
all right. All right, the folks who are here who wants to be part of the open mic, because this could get long if it. Margaret?
Yes, I do, and I'm trying to figure out how to get my picture. For some reason, getting on tonight, it's blank. It's got my name, but not my video.
Lenny, you want in on the open mic, I take it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Judy Ireland. Open mic.
No, thank you. Not tonight. I'll just listen.
Oh, man. John Levy, open mic. John?
He's here. It looks like he's connecting to audio as we speak.
Okay. All right. I know Stephen Roberts wants in.
I'll keep him in mind. You can skip over him for now.
All right. We got Stephen Roberts.
Who always says yes, thank goodness.
Yes, he does. Leslie, would you like open mic? Leslie.
You're muted.
No, I'm not.
No,
Leslie is.
Who's on first?
I said, sure.
Okay. Andrea, you're new here, so it gets kind of goofy for the first 10 minutes, and then it kind of settles in. So,
and then it gets worse.
And then it gets worse.
Goofy is my middle name, so here's Papaya.
Oh, what a sweetie!
If only dogs could write poems. Maybe they do, and we just don't even know.
Part Cairn Terrier, maybe.
You know, I'm not sure what she is. I want to do one of those little DNA tests.
Yeah, I would look at Cairn Terrier. She's a cutie. I love.
Guy, you want in on the open mic?
Sorry.
Put me down, but I may not make the whole night. So.
Oh man. If I could just say a quick word, Guy and Will Nixon will be featuring for Philip Levine in Woodstock next Saturday on the 11th, 2 p.m., I think.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yes. 2 p.m. a week from tomorrow.
Okay.
Woodstock Library.
Poet remembers.
I won't remember anything else, but I got that one. Aliyah, would you like to be part of the open mic? I know Maggie.
I'm new. I'm just viewing this.
Okay, cool. Thanks for checking in.
Cassandra, great to see you. Happy New Year.
Hey, it's great to see you too. Of course, I'm here for Bob. How could I not be here from Bob coming from his kitchen? He's the greatest reader ever. So, Bob, I miss you.
Oh yeah. Well, then you have to bring back lip balm wherever it's sleeping.
It's coming back. It's end of January, I think, the 25th.
Oh yay!
So,
Well, Cassandra, do you want to read in the open mic?
No, I'm just here for Bob, and all the other readers that I'm sure I'll enjoy. But Bob did send me the link, so
we're all here.
Yeah,
we're all here.
Of course.
Perry Nicholas, you want to be in on the open mic? I saw his name pop up. Perry.
Yeah.
Just leave me out here hanging in the open. It's all.
He's just disconnected audio. That's all.
Okay, that's all right. No problem.
Way.
I'm sure Cindy Hochman will want in.
Hello, Naomi. Hello, Perry. Hello, Benjamin. Hello, Cassandra. Hello, Aliyah. And hello, Guy, though I said hello before. Cindy,
Hi.
hey.
Hi, Greg.
For those who don't know, usually we get about half as many people as the number who technically register for an event. So if there are 30, we get 15 or so, 12, 15, 16. Tonight, though, we have 91 people who registered.
Oh.
That's some kind of, I don't know, like.
That's a big number.
It's the Bob effect.
It's the all right, Bob. If this all goes south, we got you to blame.
It's a family affair.
All right, Benjamin, do you want in on the open mic?
I'm good, thanks. Just going to be quietly listening, taking notes.
Cool. Thanks for coming out tonight. Where are you
Yeah,
calling?
looking forward to it.
Where
From
are you calling?
Chicago.
Cool. Mr. Aplon's old stomping grounds.
Nice
Mhm.
photo, Mike. I
Yeah,
Oh, I don't know. What is it?
contemplating the third button.
I don't know. Who am I now?
Looks like the Holy Land.
Looks like the Holy Land.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's Montalcino in northern Italy.
That's nice too.
Beautiful.
That's wine country. He says.
Hmm.
Here's
Here's a
the
toast to everyone. Here's a toast.
wine country. Hey, Maggie.
Maggie,
Happy New Year. Happy
Happy New Year.
20. Is it really 2025?
No,
It's 2225.
2029, I think, is what it is. Suddenly and mercifully.
I see it as a number 9. It's going to be a great year. It's going to be a strong year, a year of change, a year of opportunity, a year of transformation. It's a 9. We just left the year 8, a year where people repeat the same things over and over and just
Oh, we
their
know about
souls
that
become
here.
stronger for
Yes.
surviving it. So I think it was to prepare us for this year.
I accept that completely. Sounds weirdly right.
I'm all in with the optimism.
Yeah,
So
that's
gotta be
right.
optimistic.
6 months, they'll be devouring each other's young. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there'll be people in the crowd paying to see who gets the final bite.
Yeah. And they'll all end up on some sort of volcanic islet off the coast of Iceland or Greenland somewhere where they have just enough protein to survive. And that's it.
But it's okay because they get to see the Northern Lights. Is that what they're called?
Oh, well, okay. Because there are quasi-Buddhist, half-assed Buddhists says, yes, give them the Northern Lights.
Give them the Northern Lights. Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to get
Yes.
very, very grim. Joke now.
Indeed.
Days, but it's going to get grim. See. Hey, I dig what you just put in chat, and I want to advise everyone, especially those who are new, to open a chat window and keep it handy, because the CAPS crowd does, and we encourage them to emote about what they're hearing. It could be any kind of comment. It most predominantly is simply a quote back to you of some phrase or line that they just heard that spoke to them. So it's fun, and it's a nice way of showing support for all of the readers tonight. Yes. PSA over. Oh, wait, I want to add, if you haven't read The Tale of Genji, the world's first novel from the 900s by a woman, Murasaki Shikibu, please read this. Every single page has the unique ancient prose form, because when they spoke to one another, they spoke in a poem. It's,
My wife just got done reading that a couple of months ago. She loved it.
It is astonishing, and it is so modern. In the first 10 words, there's a parenthetical aside to, hey, y'all know what I mean. What? What? It's so cool. Anyway, that's all.
And it's not even from Caps Press. Go figure. All right, we're gonna put Raphael on the open mic. Feel Kosick. All right. Cassandra.
Oh, Cassandra, I see in chat you saying that you have a friend who has a book of prose poetry called Sleeplessness that riffs off of Tale of Genji.
So he asked me to write the introduction. So I had to read that as well as his book. So it was great. It was really good.
I can see how you would. There is a certain insouciance between all these would-be amours going on in the first 120 pages.
Yep, I loved it. We did it at uni as well, so I loved it there. I loved coming back.
I think it's a really long novel, right? A long book.
Massive.
Yes,
it's 1,000 pages or whatever.
Yeah, 12. Yeah.
Well,
oh man, it's way over my head.
Oh, but it reads so quick. It has such immediacy. You know, the Japanese had a sense, a term, a tense, I should say, a tense that it has no equal in English, which is the omniscient, by default sort of, narrator present tense. So it's a present tense about things that have happened in the past. It carries the Japanese version in a way that can only be approximated in the English version. But that approximation is distinctive from all of the prose. I just recently read an equally sized Icelander saga, which is a 1,100-page compendium of the 7-volume version, right? And it has the same kind of immediacy as the Icelandic language, which is closer to English than any other European language. Anyway, I'll be quiet now.
Oh, don't be quiet.
I love talking about books. You know, I wanted to start a little group to just like book talk or whatever and meet once a month or something and just have everybody kick around what they're reading or what they read in the past, what they liked, what they didn't like, that kind of a thing. And I always get folks that say, oh, yeah, sure, but can never get everybody to agree on one particular night to do it. So
that's impossible.
Not exactly a book club, more like a books club. Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Well, yeah, but instead of like picking one particular book to talk about, because not everybody may have read that, just books in general, what you've read, you know, recently or what have you.
Yeah, I would think that would be a better. I think that would be a better idea than, you know, picking a book, because some people are into things and some people aren't. And
yeah, totally agree with all of that.
Well, if anybody's interested, just send me a letter by snail mail. No, just whatever. Contact me.
All right, we'll get started in like 5 or 6 minutes because it's almost 7:15, and we'll just let people check in as they check in. Speak amongst yourselves for the next couple minutes and we'll see we got an open mic of about 14, 15 people so far. So we'll just keep it going as it goes along. Is Ken Holland here?
I don't see him.
Speaking of the devil, there he is. Okay. Amanda, yes, I've got you on the list already.
Hi, Amanda. Hi, Ron. Hi, Raphael. Hi, Andrew. Hi, John. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Karen. Hi, Cindy. And I did say hi to Perry, so that's where I'll stop.
Perry, do you want to be in on the open mic?
No, just listening, Mike. Thank you.
You're welcome, buddy. Thanks for coming on.
Yep. Happy New Year, everyone.
Hi, Mike. I'm here, but I'm not going to do any reading. I still have COVID.
Oh.
So
well, we can't get it through the Zoom.
I'm going to be a little hanging loose here.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I hope you didn't have it too bad.
No, bad enough.
Has anyone here read Proust, all 7 volumes from the Lydia Davis inaugural volume on?
My wife did.
Yes.
I didn't.
And John
She
did?
she read it throughout the first year of COVID, the whole year. She read all
Ah,
7
makes
books. Yeah.
perfect sense. Yeah, that Polish gentleman who went to the Gulag and wrote that, scorching class. He taught a class to other Gulag prisoners. He was a Polish count, so he was sent to the Gulag. He also was sick when he read it, as before the term in the Gulag. I am transformed as a writer and as a poet, but from reading Proust. I know I'm teetering on
Boy, fanboy.
something or the other here, but
You're not the first person I've heard say that, though. A lot of folks have been.
in the first 30 pages, you slow down and you inhabit time,
Yeah.
Proust time. And then if you just stay there, doesn't matter if you don't get this or that, character or reference, whatever. I want another 7 volumes for realsies. I really do. That's why I went to the Icelander sagas, giant thing. And that's why I'm gone now to the Tale of Genji, and why I'm going to do Olga. Oh, I'm going to mispronounce her name. Starts with a T. Taraskic.
Yeah, people have been recommending her like crazy. I haven't read anything by her, but she's on my list.
Yeah, right, Rafi. She has like 4 or 5, major books and award-winning books out there. So this is
Olga, yeah.
Ken,
Yeah, well, I know her novels if you're talking about Olga, however we want to mispronounce her name.
Yes,
I'm
right.
with you.
Right.
Yeah, I've read a couple of her novels. Yeah, they're terrific.
Coolio. I look forward to it even more so then, because I trust your judgment, Ken.
Well, we're all a little off, so that's how you have to
we are all a little
enjoy her work. So I trust.
Wait, wrong hand. Okay. You're absolutely right, Ken. I'm more off than on these days. I don't know. It's a fear of January 20th. I think there's a Latin expression for it. Like Sic Semper Tyrannis or something. What is the protocol for marijuana in public or semi-public or private, like in someone's backyard at a barbecue? We don't know that yet, do we? Especially if we're in a state where it's legalized, all the people in the illegal states, they all think, oh, well, they're just partying it up. We're not. Pot doesn't show up. It rarely shows up. It's weird. I don't know. As a genuine 60s guy, I always saw Utopia a little differently, like people in the streets smoking joints. Never mind. We can move on from that.
I get high whenever I can. So it's or wherever I can. Yeah. But tonight I'm perfectly straight except for half a glass of Barolo. So let's take it from there. All right. Okay. What do we got? 7:16. You want to get this show on the road?
I think so.
Let's get this show on the road. I want to wish everybody a happy new year before we begin. Congratulate yourselves. You made it to 2025, at least the first week anyway. So let's hope that it's a better year than 2024 in a lot of great ways. My name is Mike Jakovic. I'll be your host for the evening. God, probably for the whole year. And Greg Carell, as you know, is the host who sometimes is behind the binary curtain, the digital curtain, but we let him out every Friday and he has a good time. And we go on about our business. So CAPS enters its 26th year in 2025. Our readers for tonight, kicking off in a grand style, Roger Aplon, Andrea Deeken, and Bob Heman. We got 14, 15 people on the open mic. We'll add people as we go along or subtract as we go along. I want to welcome you all and thank you all for being here this evening, for spreading the word. And please mute yourselves while the features are reading. And Roger, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, hold on. Let me give you your proper introduction.
You hear me all right?
Yep. Let me give you a proper introduction. Hold on just a second. All right, our first reader for 2025. Born in Chicago, Illinois, Roger Aplon was a founder and managing editor of Chicago's Choice magazine with John Logan and Aaron Siskine. He has had 13 books published, one of prose poems and short fiction intimacies, and 12 of poetry. Most recently, The Omnipotent Sorcerer, Burn Baby Burn, and The Beethoven Project. Many of his poems confront social and political injustices and conflicts, while others reflect his interest in documenting the quotidian of the lives he's lived and the places he's lived it. Given his love of jazz and experimental music, he often reads his work with musicians from the avant-garde ensembles Wormhole in Yokohama and Tokyo, Japan, and the Tromaflora collectives in San Diego, California. In the course of his long career, he's been awarded many prizes and honors, including an arts fellowship from the Helene Wurlitzer Foundation in Taos, New Mexico. After an 8-year writing retreat in Barcelona, he now makes his home in Deeken, New York, yay, where he edits and publishes a poetry magazine, Waymark Voices of the Valley, and is at work on revising an earlier collection, It's Mother's Day. You can read and hear examples of his work at www.rogeraplon.com. I know CAPS has been a better organization and a better whatever the heck CAPS is because of Roger, and I want to thank him for being here this evening. Our friend, Mr. Roger Aplon. You're up, Roger.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, folks. Nice to see you. Last time I read with a CAPS audience was actually in 2018 when my book, Mustering What's Left, came out, and you were still reading up in, I think, in the gallery space. And you have to remind me where it is. I'm going to start with a piece that.
Hey, Roger, hold on a second. Roger, hold on. Everybody, please mute yourselves because we're getting some kind of weird nonsense.
It's fixed.
Go for it, Roger.
Okay. It's called Improvisation after Jason Robinson's Tiresian Symmetry. He wrote a group of musical pieces on the life of Tiresias, or the many lives of the mythological figure Tiresias, who, as you probably all know, was both a man and a woman at different intervals. I'm reading number 7 out of 7. You say the future lies buried in the past, that only the blind one in the well can tell. And here the line begins. A sailor home from the sea, a king about to lose his throne, the crone with one good eye, supplicants and maidens alike, they all come. Remember me to your mother, he whispers, out of the sea and into the mountains. Decade after decade, there's no escape. The pleasure you receive from a man's body is your right. Men are such empty vessels. Here, sweep me up in your big, strong arms. Take me to the top, and remember, you were born to heal the sick of heart, those degraded by love, the tortured and the torturer. One man's curse is another's salvation. How many years has it been? Have you not had enough, oh wise one? And here the tale turns dark. There's a hole in the scrim through which the witches wander, one with a bloodshot eye, the other on her knees in pain. It's plain to see, if you can, if you ever can, again. The punchline is coming soon. You must learn to trust history. Hear them? Hear the mumblers and the fumblers? They follow you like starved cows. It's your story. Tell it now and tell it well. A wet afternoon evokes the image, pardon me, evokes the image of a bicycle and a small boy riding with wet newspapers for the stores where they're junked and the kids kicked out. And in the next frame, the kid on the bike delivers pharmaceuticals. And when the street's no longer wet, he's driving a grocer's truck and the load is lettuce and roast beef. And On another wet afternoon, we find him in bed with a girl who is wet and knows more than he about wet afternoons and rolls over to show him how. And a winter goes by and another, and in a thunderstorm in July, he's sweating under a canoe in Wisconsin when Diane offers her hand and her wet mouth. And it's 10 years later, and he and Julia are driving through mist to the mountains and the rainbow that is their final run at hope. And today, on this wet afternoon in November, he's no longer a kid and shuffles his collection of photos to find the one of her under the umbrella, and how wet she could be on any afternoon or night when the fire crackled and Noche the cat curled on the hearth, and he'd find his way. And it ends here with an empty bottle and a loaded gun. And when the rain comes again, it will be just rain and no place to run. I brought this one in today because we're stuck with him again, the Flim Flam Man. I wrote this about 7 years ago when he was last seen among us, and now he's coming back. The crafty Dodger sets up his card table at the edge of the park and waits like the jackal he is, with a sucker in the blue parka with "Stop me if you can" stitched across the back of it. And when he arrives fresh from the market, or a catch it when you can crap game, or was it a lazy liaison with his sister's friend Camille, the jackal strikes. Today it's three-car Monte, where the ace of hearts slips between two black kings, or does it? And so we watch closely as the plump man in the little red ball cap chatters and cajoles and moves his cards from right to left and left to right until the idea of the red ace is merely a momentary memory in the mind's eye. And when the sucker picks the wrong card and loses his $10, we're not surprised. But we are when he asks to try again and again and still again. And it's then we listen to the jackal in the red ball cap as he chants his chant, ridiculing one disgraced disciple while castigating another, and promising great wealth while stuffing his own already fat pockets, promising security and moral certitude while yanking babies from their mother's arms. And when the next sucker sidles up real brave and sure of himself, the fat man in the little red ball cap claps him on the back and begins his rancid rap again and steals the money again. And on goes the scam, and the captivated crowd roars their unwavering approval. And now it seems, even after lie after lie after lie after lie, no one can pull them away from the Flim Flam Man in the little red cap and his mesmerizing rap and roll. Which brings me to one of the things he left behind the last time, and we may see it again. The poem is called, I can find it, ¿Dónde está mi madre? A child weeps, and her cries reverberate throughout the dingy warehouses, makeshift barracks, and swarming extraction camps. It ricochets across the desolate plains of West Texas and Southern California and Southern Arizona and the mesas of New Mexico. A child weeps, and his tears threaten to drown the tongue-tied Christians, Jews, and Muslims. They dampen dinner tables in Portland, Maine, and Poughkeepsie, New York, in St. Louis, Missouri, and across the Rockies and across the sea to Honolulu. Children weep and parents weep, and a once proud people cringes in the wake of what it has allowed and what it has wrought and what it is to be dishonored. Between bouts of fear and trembling, these kids are heard to ask, "Donde está mi mama? Donde está mi papa? Donde estoy? Where am I?" Rings off key like a cracked bell, like a symbolic liberty bell, cracked but still resonant, reminiscent of what has been lost, but might be again. I'm going to read several poems that are about war or the people who fight wars. And this one's called "You Sent Me to Kill or Be Killed." Begins with a quote from the New York Times. Staff Sergeant Robert Bales, the enigmatic figure at the center of the worst American war crime in recent memory, admitted for the first time on Wednesday deliberately killing 16 Afghan civilians last year, most of them women and children. Critics of America's decade of conflict in the region seized on the stresses experienced in the war by soldiers like Sergeant Bales. June 5th, 2013, New York Times. It's late. Night hangs heavy in Kandahar province. Scorpions, woodlice, a mantis preys. Staff Sergeant Robert Bales injects his nightly dose of anabolic steroids, buckles up his gear. 4 tours in 10 months, 4 tours in 10 years. No time to reminisce, no time to dream. He's careful to climb down the ladder reserved especially for him. At the bottom is the pit. Dung beetles scurry. His head throbs. You've seen your buddies' shredded bodies baking in the desert sun, babies dangling dead from barbed wire, a woman blown to clots and bone by the bomb she'd wrapped around her waist. The medics say PTSD. The lawyers say booze and drugs. Tonight, Robert dreams mayhem. Spirits of the brave and lost will cross the Devil's River. He's locked and loaded. Night goggles and high-octane wild turkey, 101 proof. My enemies are everywhere, in their tents, behind their walls, in their gardens, and in their beds. They babble in tongues, sneer and wail. I need silence to think. My throat chokes on our renegade soup. There's nothing to be done. Extermination. I am the champion of justice, the avenger and the priest, locked and loaded. Bless me, Father, for I am a missile unleashed and proud, a drone in desert camouflage. I've been sent to redeem my country's honor. I am without home, without mercy, without guilt. Pray for me as I kneel in the sand and light my torch. Nothing is left of me. I am slag. I am heroic. I am disaster. See me for what I am, what I have been trained to be. I am a machine running on fumes. Nothing matters. The mission is at hand. How many must die and why? I am marked. Absurd. Without guile. A bomb. Fused as intended. Poison. Catastrophe. Collateral damage. It is. I am. What must be known. what must be expected.
Wow.
And from another war, earlier in 1992, the Bosnian Wars, letter to Sophia. I should have known, even before the wind had shifted and the stench of flesh on fire peeled sweat from walls, from the whistling in my ears, the resonant whack of cracking spines, bodies rotting in the road. I should have hocked my gun, torched my fatigues, joined your neighbors for the long march out instead, and I tell you this with chalk in my mouth. I drank with the rest, took my turn in the teenage girls, forced the sons to do dog to their mothers. Yes, all this I did, and more. I should have known when my beard turned white, when men were forced to bite the balls from their brother, when I prayed for rain to wash semen, shit, and tears to the sea. You would never take me as I was. Never kiss my eyelids with your tongue as you did. Never dip your cool hands under my shirt. Press your cheek against my naked back. Never again. Trust me to be clean.
Wow.
Which brings us to Ukraine 2022. It begins with a question. What is it eviscerates morality, invites the birth of a beast, where a taxi driver, plumber, or an accountant once lived a humane life? The first one was a young boy. The doctors registered him as unknown number 1. Time magazine, when war comes home. I'm here, room 32. I've removed the shrapnel from his chest and legs and arms, and now I insert a breathing tube and crank up the machine to do the work. I've been here 36 hours, and I'm headed home to the subway, where my mother and sister crouch among their thin necessities: paper to clean ourselves, water, toothbrush, blanket. I'm here too, says my daughter, now 6. She has a doll, pink shoes, a Minnie Mouse barrette, and a CD player that's run out of juice. She hopes for a night when she can again dream of sunshine. I'm an anonymous soldier. Before, I was a candy maker. Today, we lifted an old man across the gap to the arms of his shuddering wife of 50 years. They carried bread and a Bible. I've shot men and watched them die. Once our brother Slavs, they've come to war and worse. They've slaughtered our innocents, stacked them like cordwood, left us the vacant stares of women raped by squads of men, left us babies decapitated and strung like gourds from street signs and lampposts. Our killers' corpses lay stiff and broken in the ditches. Once husbands, fathers, sons, and lovers, like us, just like us. Who can say what it is eviscerates morality, invites the birth of a beast, where a taxi driver, plumber, or an accountant once lived a humane life?
Thank you for that one, Roger.
You're welcome. I've been wanting to write about this for some time. It's called Israeli settlers invade the towns and homes of their Palestinian neighbors. They were born in Israel, France, Russia, Ukraine, Germany, Great Britain, and the United States. They come from Brooklyn. They come from Chicago. They come from San Francisco, London, Berlin, Geneva, Paris, Moscow, and Miami. They carry automatic rifles, grenades, torches, and gasoline. They number 700,000 and add dozens to their regime each month. They hunt to maim, to torment, to torture, to incinerate, and even now and then to kill all or any Palestinians, men and women and kids. They even butcher their donkeys, dogs, cats, sheep, and goats. They torch their 1,000-year-old olive groves. They torch their homes, cars, shops, and markets. No limitations have been erected. No Israeli laws have been enforced. They are a curse on humanity, and they are a curse on decency. They are a curse on me, and I will not be cursed. But I am ashamed for my heritage and for my ancestors who suffered this same brutality for millennia at the hands of men just like them. And now, rounding out the circle, they do the same to these people, homeless and dependent, their country taken from them and cannibalized by Zionism and by these men and women who believe they are entitled. Hate breeds hate. It is their nourishment, the sustenance they thrive on. I spit on their brimming plates. May they choke on what they incite and what they have allowed. I'm going to end with this piece that's called At the Side of the Road. At the side of the road, he waits with torso naked for the passers-by to see and touch if they dare. This man yoked with a gnarled hump and twisted frame, who comes day by day to offer himself as the least of us, to remind the strong of the lost, the violent of the humble, the proud of the weak. And though the air is brittle and the ground is wet, he comes with cup in hand and alone, as are we all who wait for our bus that will arrive soon. And with it, the inescapable and most perfect fact, we are bound to a future we know not and will only taste once. Thank you.
Roger, thank you, man. That was a reality check if ever we needed one.
Thank you, Michael.
Stunning, Roger. This is Greg. I'm in awe of what you just said and how you revivify our awareness of recent genocides and oppressions, rape-centric oppressions. And your eloquence is astonishing. Thank you.
Roger, if you want to tell the people about Waymark, you can take a couple minutes to do so if you want. Or the books, whatever you want to do.
Well, my books are available if you are interested in looking at excerpts from them on my website. They're also available through any bookstore that wants to order by ISBN number. But Waymark is going on into its 13th year, two issues a year. That's going to be number 24 coming up. And it started with a group of Caps poets, actually, It's called Waymarked Voices of the Valley for a reason. I stole that name from one of the books that were originally attributed to Capps. Anyone can send in poems, prefer those that are recommended by other poets, especially those that have been published in Waymark. 3 poems in an email, attached to an email, preferably in Word or something I can translate into Word. And it comes, as I said, twice a year. The address is my name, rogeraplon@gmail.com for submissions. And I try to keep track of who's been published and who has work coming out, and everyone gets a magazine on the house based on a tradition started by a friend of mine named Ron Hoffman, who did a magazine back in Chicago called Free Lunch, and said that there may not be a free lunch, but there's a free magazine for anybody, any poet or anyone who wants a copy of it. I follow the same principle. Anyway, thank you very much for the opportunity to read. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Roger, man. It's always good to see you. Always good to hear you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your long time support and friendship. All right. Our next featured reader for the evening, I met on we featured together. I can't remember when. It was sometime last year. I enjoyed what she did, and I was like, well, you got to come and do that for us. So Andrea Deeken, they, is the author of the chapbook Mother Kingdom, winner of the 2021 Slapering Hall Press Chapbook Competition, and 2022 International Book Award finalist. Her writing has appeared or is forthcoming in a variety of journals, including Beltway Poetry Quarterly, Beyond Queer Words, the Blue Mountain Review, Herbace, or Herbace maybe, Journal UK, ran off with the Star Bassoon and Spoon River Poetry Review, among many others. A former book editor, she has worked for Multnomah County Library for nearly 2 decades. She lives in Portland, Oregon with her family. It was a hoot to hear her when she read, and I'm looking forward to hearing her now. Andrea Deeken, you're up.
Thank you, Mike. I'm really excited to be here. Roger, that was really beautiful and powerful work. Really important messaging. So thank you for sharing that. I'm coming to you live from Portland, Oregon. My kiddo is in the next room watching cartoons, so hopefully that won't come through and you can hear me okay. I thought I would start with a few poems from my chapbook, Mother Kingdom, which came out in 2022, and then I was going to read some new stuff that I've been working on. The Mother Kingdom is about being a mother and also being a daughter, but it's also about how to be a mother to yourself, which is something I'm learning deeply in my midlife as a 44-year-old person. The first poem I'm going to read from this is called Evolution, and the setting is like many of the poems in the chapbook. It takes place in rural Missouri, where I grew up. I grew up on a riverbank out in the country. And this poem begins with my father looking for arrowheads. So this one is called Evolution. Was it when I followed my father to the fields, his back hunched, searching for arrowheads, my feet sinking in the newly turned earth? Or was it seeing my mother from the doorway, her back a waning crescent in the dark? Words came easily to me then, alone with paper, my mind a sweet shadow, time a blanket around my shoulders. But coming out my mouth, they choked and stumbled, my face the crushed color of cherries stuck to the bottom of a boot. When I told my father I was gay, he was chopping radishes, their red skins half moons on the cutting board, little gleams of white like a promise worth keeping. His careful hands slicing, their rough wintered edges that held so many things, dogs, babies, stones the color of starlight, my wild heart beating the knife's calm rhythm. What can I fix you to eat? My mother was not so easy, her face pinched pale in the thick dark of her bedroom, thin covers, a moat of righteous limbs, and I the only sinner. Even now, all these years later, my heart closes when I hear her voice. Today it's cold, but the crocuses are coming up, ochre pollen petals small as thimbles. Soon the geese will head back north, their black wings cutting through soundless cloud. Let's see. I have a dog in my lap, so forgive the wiggles. The next one I'm going to read is called First Kill, also from the chapbook. On the inside, the deer stand was surprisingly small. White bucket in the corner, wet sawdust and piss. The thrill of being alone with him, this new brother I had gotten just weeks before, by way of a second marriage. 4 days apart, the two of us, born the same month and year. My father had taken us hunting. Anything could happen. I don't know who saw it first, but soon it was in our hands as we stood side by side, holding the magazine, curling at the edges. All those women, and our eyes on them like magnets. When my father returned with a doe, calling and calling our names, we scampered down the steps, guilty children, our minds already on dinner. Years would pass before I knew the soft rumblings in my body could begin to speak its impossible language. But in the deer stand, the crickets were loud in my ears. The humid air stuck to my skin as I carefully turned the pages. My new brother just inches from my molting body, its pimpled cheeks and long coltish legs, our heads bowed as if in prayer. That night, we dined like kings. Thank you. Let's see. The next one I'm gonna do is called We Carry Stones with Seasons Inside Them. And it's a shift to when my kiddo was about 6. And we went to a river near our house in Oregon called the Columbia River. So this is called We Carry Stones with Seasons Inside Them. Newly 6, my daughter fills her fists with rocks to stack from the bruised edge of the Columbia, just north of our house in the city. She squints and stomps like a displeased general. Everything has gone wrong. The wind and water stretch around us, a large lumbering animal rubbing its eyes. It will be fall in a few weeks. Mama, they are too small, she says, not flat enough for the fierce towers in her mind. Her legs blur as she charges ahead. Soon she is on to the next item of business, but I'm left searching. How much, she starts, that I take on as my own, what motherhood is, the push and pull of waves at the shore. I pocket those that call to me, mostly smooth ones giving me a kind of peace, probably the closest thing to prayer I've ever felt, river rock to skin. We walk to the top of the boat ramp, jagged concrete ridges reminding me of the time when I was 7 or 8. Sorry, my dog. We walk to the top of the boat ramp, jagged concrete ridges reminding me of the time when I was 7 or 8 and played hide and seek with the summer people, a half-mile from our house on the Osage. I don't remember if I was it when I fell, slicing my knee on those steep steps, blood caught in the grooves. I looked for a boat full of people, coolers and catfish, tackle hanging off the sides. Instead, there was only murky water, bloated bugs in old beer cans, my blood. Someone's cousin carried me all the way, running toward our cabin at the end of the tree-lined gravel. Windows dark, the dogs barking. It's bad. You're gonna need stitches. My sweaty hands held his neck. Already shrinking into myself, I shrugged it off, a summer blossom closing at dusk. At the hospital, they gave me 6 stitches. The boy had been right. It was my body, and I was the last to know. It's kind of funny, my dog was giving me a hard time during that poem. What are you doing? Do you want to be in my lap? You want to be over there? Okay. I might have to put her out in a second. Sorry. I'm gonna read one more from the chapbook, and then I'm gonna read some new things. This next one, I identify with it a lot. You know, as a citizen living in the end stages of capitalism. Oh my goodness, this dog. Come here, Bubba. What's up with you? Okay, I'm gonna let you out. Come on. What side? You go that way. Okay. Ugh. Sorry about that. Okay, anyway, this one is called My Worry. My worry is a yarn ball tangled under the bed, is broken glass beneath my tires as I'm biking home, is a piece of popcorn I've been working all day, stuck between a pocket of tooth and gum. My worry is a wave watching me walk the shore, collecting stones and shells while my daughter runs ahead. From here, she is so small, I can fit her whole body between 2 fingers. My worry takes root beneath my very house, is there when the shit comes spilling out of the toilet as I'm taking a shower. My worry is a friend I see on the street walking home. I raise my hand in greeting, but she does not see me. Okay, I'm gonna read now some newer poems. This one is called Family Recipe. And it takes place kind of around the holiday season, so it feels relevant for that reason. Family Recipe. I roll out dough for peanut butter blossoms, sugar all over the floor. Once unwrapped, my daughter presses chocolate kisses until the dough softens and cracks, and I think of my grandmother who made these every Christmas. I think of her plaid apron, the deep chipped farm sink, the faded juice glass that's now in my own cabinet, just out of reach. All I have left of her, along with the picture of a girl that once hung in her sewing room, holding a basket of black-eyed Susans, looking off into an empty field. My daughter wears the same apron now, strings wrapped twice around her small waist, and I wonder if my grandma ever got to make cookies with her own mother, who died when she was just a girl, or if my mother, before we stopped speaking, was ever careful with her own sticky dough, if she ever pressed them gently, as my daughter does now. Was the sugar all over the floor then too? And did the dog come sniffing around as she slipped and slid in the sweet grit? Did you finally place them in the oven and wonder if any of it was enough? Let's see. This one I wrote a few years ago, but it seems very applicable now with thank you, with just the state of the world. My kiddo is 11 now, and when I wrote this poem, they were 9. So it's called Profile of a 9-Year-Old in Sleep. And it begins with a quote by Rumi, which is, "The wound is the place where the light enters you." The news is so bad, I do dishes. I make the water as hot as I can stand. My mother would wear rubber gloves all the way to the elbow, but these days my hands are bare. As my daughter sleeps, more news, more bombs falling on the other side of the world. Sometimes, and only in a certain light, I am shocked to see her baby self appear in profile, the small uncut jewel of her nose. I remember how her tiny far-flung arms gathered violently, as if reaching for faraway stars. If we allowed men to cry, would their bombs still fall on us like rain? Just today, we saw how a telescope could beam back the first photographs of a distant past. How many galaxies could fit inside this grain of sand held out at arm's length? And how many of my daughter's dreams could that grain contain, while the ones in charge take more of her rights away? Somewhere, our tilting planet must be turning toward the light. Thank you.
Nice one.
Thank you. Let's see. How about this one is called Inheritance. My kiddo is like obsessed with mushrooms. So that's kind of where this poem starts. Inheritance. After school, I watch you draw mushrooms on sheets of 5th grade math. Hedgehog, bolet, shaggy mane. Such quiet captivation with things underground. Networks of connected tissues, living memories of our prehistoric past. Some species have been around so long, it is as if they are made of time itself. Me, I'm more of a tree person. Maybe it's from a youth spent swinging from them, wild and alone, looking up at leaf litter while hiding from my parents' anger. Maybe it's how, even now, a certain kind of wind can carry along the tips of the great Japanese maple at the end of my block when I'm out walking the dog, stopping me cold. As if my past is waving back to me in branches. I learn how forests are superorganisms with connections much like ant colonies. Some partners are so tightly connected, they die at the same time, taking up only what space they need. But others with their own damaged root systems seem incapable of working together. This is their inheritance. I wonder what kind of damage lives in me. Let's see, just have a few more. This one is called Silent Treatment. White static on the television, a wave rising at my back. A wall of gray clouds skimming towards my car. I am driving away from you. Since we last spoke, spring has come. The birds are busy making their nests. The geese are on their way back. See how they fly in such haphazard V's, change course sometimes, the way I change lanes when late to work. My favorite flowers grow in ravines, purple hyacinths, yellow dandelions, locked in the fists of my only child. She collects them in jars for our kitchen table. Still, I look for ants among the petals. I don't know how to please you. Sometimes I think you'd rather have me framed on your wall than see my living face. These lines in the corners of my eyes, the crust of leftover sleep, cracked lower lip. My hands look like your hands now. I pinch the skin, feel its familiar fragility. Okay, this next one is called The Origin of Pain, and it's a prose poem, and it has some kind of like what's the word? Like magical realism to it, I would say. The Origin of Pain. My hands are my mother's hands, the veins blue tributaries leading to another world. Seeing them gather is to go backwards in time, follow their steep current to the source of all longing. My pain is my mother's pain, is her sister's pain, and all the way down the line. Did it start with the father's pain and the war that swallowed him? Or was his mother the first to carry it west on her back, all the way from Germany? Today it's winter, the time of year I go inward, past the inky blackness at the top of the well, all the way down to the bottom where, if you go far enough, it is bone dry. Dry as dust, dry as the desert, dry as cast iron that's been washed too many times and begun to rust. How I long for a drop of water, of something pliable to put in my hands, lined and cracked as riverbeds, the cuticles coming loose in my teeth. I am looking for a hole in an old tree where I can finally rest, the oldest tree I can find, deep in a forest undisturbed for centuries by human machines, a place where the trees nest tightly together in chosen families, the young saplings nursing the old stumps beneath them with something I can only call kindness or survival, or maybe even love. Now I am my own mother. Watch me wrap my arms around myself, kiss my own cheeks, bandage my own scraped knees. Look to the stars, see what has made you. The light that took centuries to reach us in this moment is utterly free. Thank you. I thought I would end. So Mike, when Mike and I read together, he read all these amazing haiku, and I am going to end with 3 haiku that I wrote a while back. Thank you for having me. This has been such an honor. So I have 3 haiku here. Haiku for my first confession. A believing child, I made up sins to please men and reach salvation. And then I have haiku of my regret. Over my shoulder, a mountain's worth of sunsets when my life was new. Haiku for my future self. Oh, sweet little bird, how far you've already flown. Celebrate the storms. Thank you.
How about a warm caps welcome and thank you to Andrea? I mean, this is her first time with us.
Wonderful, wonderful, Andrea. Oh, I hope you can read through the comments in chat. Fantastic work. Fantastic delivery. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. Anybody else? I mean, come on now. Be nice. It's the first of the year. She's a new reader for us. Come on now, everybody. Hey, everybody's shy. I don't know why.
Oh, I love the haiku, the confession haiku. Could you just read that one more time?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I grew up Catholic, if you can't tell. Haiku for my first confession. A believing child, I made up sins to please men and reach salvation.
Oh. I love it.
Thank you.
I'll add that your voice is so confident that it invites us as listeners in with you while it's unfolding. That's just the best experience you can have.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I agree with all of that.
Andrea, thank you again. And we will have you back. Join us whenever you can. Thanks a lot. Let's move on to our next open mic. I'm not open. Oh man, I'm jumping the gun here. Not our open mic, our next feature. Bob Heman writes mostly short poems and prose poems. His art includes collages, ink drawings, and participatory cutout multiples on paper. He was the editor and publisher of Clown War between 72 and 2015. Since then, it's been in hibernation. In the late 1970s, he was an artist in residence at the Brooklyn Museum. He lives on the west end of Long Island in what was once the city of Brooklyn. Some recent publications include What Needs to Be Found, to be published by Mad Hat Press in May of this year, Washing the Wings of the Angels, Quail Press 2024, Cone Transformed, Poets Wear Prada 2021, and the number 5 is Always Suspect, collaborations with Cindy Hochman, Press of Press 2019. It's a pleasure to bring back Mr. Bob Heman. You're up, Bob.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to start with some from Washing the Wings of the Angels, but different ones, mostly different ones than I've read recently. So they should be new to a lot of the people. Okay, so I'm going to start with some from Washing the Wings of the Angels. This is what Washing the Wings of the Angels looks like with one of my collages. Okay. And they're part of my information series, as will be the ones that I close with. Information has to be like the story was, meandering a bit with no destination in mind. He didn't know there'd be bears. He didn't know there'd be a boat or a hat filled with bees. He expected choices, but not the choices he was given. Everything changed when the woman spoke. Everything changed when the car wouldn't start. Information. In the spring, the owls bloomed and the wheels turned more slowly. In the spring, the woman's hair reached all the way to the sea. In spring, there were bears singing and a tree that finally opened its eyes. Information. In 1934, the bears were replaced with a penguin and an ant. In 1952, the line was doubled in length. In 1967, the color red was added. Information. Most of them did not know that there would be punishment in heaven as well. Information. Each new language began with a mistake, a word misheard or misspelled, a phrase that pointed in the wrong direction, a speaker who became the spoken about, a color that became too deep to climb out of, a structure that was too parallel to ever be counted, an animal that was mistaken for a pronoun, a woman whose location could not be described. Information. Washing the wings of the dragonflies is nothing at all like washing the wings of the angels. It's not just the color and texture that differs, but the light that rubs off on your hands. Information. The symbols that were given included nuns dancing with each other, rabbits constructed out of barbed wire, a child's doll designed by Hans Bellmer. There were doors that could not be entered. There was also a box that had once been a cactus, and a man who was really a swimming fish. Information. The special effects can make you seem larger or smaller, older or younger, or more attractive than you have ever been. They can give you an arm that is mechanical, or a mind full of tentacles, or a room full of children that have been assembled from plastic. They can turn you into a bear that they all recognize at once, just before they gather around the table for supper. Information. Confuses Adam and Eve with Dick and Jane. Confuses Santa Claus with God and the tree with a loving uncle. Confuses the sky with the ocean they are afraid to wade in. Confuses the fingers they count on with the explanation for goulash. Information. Significant details remembered later on. A man made of straw, a car that was broken, a trail that led deeper than they wanted to go. They spoke about distance when they meant the diameter, and dinner when they meant the dawn. Each word they spoke corresponded with a different clue. There was always a woman waiting, but they were never sure what she was waiting for. Information. The heart can sometimes be The heart can sometimes be repaired with thread and a curved needle, such as sailmakers use. But its ability to love in the future can never be guaranteed. Okay, next, I'm going to get away from the prose poem for a minute. And read the entire sequence of very short poems from my little book, 26 Structures. 1. What line twisted round and putting circles into the page and pulling line by line into mine, pausing for only a little thought and a little dream. 2. And sounds like but doesn't look like or smell like or feel like or taste like, yet it drips from all the trees. 3. And poking through and around, lining up the walls so that the rooms remain yellow and drift remains a thing historical, not physical, that still and relentlessly shapes the corners and the otherwise featureless edges. 4. Little color in the field of white, its place to space where the tensions and the spreading lines form rooms and windows. 5. And words if and when the mind extends itself into other areas of distortion and recognition, wanting the more of it all and ready for it if and when. 6. So much it reveals itself and becomes the things you always, but still remains there, just and beyond thought and grasp, and remains as it was always, and makes a name that becomes and always is only you, and the thing you were always, and always still will be. 7. And understood but so differently that it didn't and couldn't, and later it was another name and another thing, and was gone. 8. Or then again, the way it returns when least expected, carrying things to make every tree and rock and animal glow with the special and sometimes uneasy light of knowledge. 9. They passed through it and saw it from the other side, and it was the same, and the words were the same, and all the people were the same, except their words glowed, and the night was written with just those words. 10. Things happen and retract into other possibles. The night and the cold only points between arrows, and the flux that gains weight, growing names and numbers when we point it down. 11. We wait for it, but we don't know what it is or how it is named, naming the way we hold on to it, or would if we knew what it was. 12. What things were, or coming to it again, what they will be, being the way we see ourselves as part of it, it being the way the things were, or will be again. 13. And he placed it so that the edge cut the space into different namings, and the time into the past. 14. And little enough to make it full, and then gone, and that space left, the thing you name, and number, and resolve. 15. Not poems at all, only words, and then not words at all, only the gesture and the thought. 16. And instead of words, the mind sees letters, and instead of letters, only broken shapes that might form rows, if only we could understand the repetitions. 17. Or caught in its web, time pulling from all, and you without thought, or again the way it is pulling, and only the turning inwards, swallowing self out of and suddenly popped into the other, and no one there to even know or care what happened. 18. And obsessive to its own structures, making and revising, always limiting and never realizing that that's the naming of and for, and that that's the reasoning that's always and ever the cause of it. 19. Or structured in just such a way so that the flow and the little pausings form a wall or shield, and make even the largest or most energetic wait or hesitate. 20. No other pausing to make it whole and remove from or dominating of the whole incredible and sorry scene. Or this again new and without the names or numbered dots. 21. Or straight lines curved and the curved again straightened, forming between them areas where the mind makes rooms, and again the spaces where the outside can't come in. 22. Or again the things we haven't seen that infect our eyes with strange wisdom, and ask us only to make a room between the trees, where the little lines can join us all together. 23. Or things like in passing into spaces not charted or pinned down. This room only different than the others that have passed before, and being different becoming only another name, forever the same thing. 24. Through and on top of it, but waiting just there, and becoming the other, or again, the one thing that circles it in and brings it back to where it once was. 25. That moment of recognition when even the strayest of spots becomes patterns the mind charts and recovers for use. 26. All of it down to the lines and spaces, and no other way to shape and bind the nothing that fills the mind and makes this moment.
Brilliant, Bob.
Thank you. And now I'm going to end with more information pieces. These are from a book that Mad Hat Press is going to be publishing called What Needs to Be Found. Now, I've been writing information pieces since the mid-90s, so it's a long series. This is a selection of some of the earlier pieces in the series. And they will be out in May from Mad Hat. Information. The trees that border the tracks have not been written about. The houses are houses displaced in time. Sometimes it is night and sometimes it is raining. The woman's trail is all that the animals can sense. Eventually she arrives at the border where the paint is missing and the frame hides her from view. Information. The boat is the story the ocean tells. The village listens intently and sings for fish. The road carries the carts in only one direction. Where it ends, the railroad seems propelled by lights. Information. All kinds of time are available to the traveler. She's given no clue about which kind to choose. The wrong choice can leave her waiting forever on the dock for a boat that is always about to arrive. A different choice can make the journey go so quickly that she will not be able to remember anything at all about it. Whichever she chooses, she will still arrive home at the same day, on the same day at the same time, to the great joy of those who have remained at home, counting their time only by the postcards received or not received. Information. The comfort of disembodied sounds seeming to answer each other. The two small birds just out of each other's night, cheeping back and forth as if to say to the other, I'm here, I'm here. Just that and nothing more. Information. Spoke about hands to the handicapped and legs to the legendary. Duplicated the door that the woman adored. Built a pig out of twigs and a glass out of grass. Found some surface that hadn't yet surfaced. Found a man who managed himself and some sand that was sandwiched between. Abandoned the band and welcomed the bell. Made the maiden complete. Canceled the order for cans. Information. There is a restaurant in Switzerland where the waitresses are blind and the diners eat in total darkness. This much is fact. That there were stars above their heads had to be accepted on faith. The meals themselves were still alive, but too afraid to ever crawl away. Information. Listens to the distance trapped inside the straw man. Fills the metal man up with animals. Lets the lion also start to resemble. She combs his hair until he can remember. Information. Each one leads a different life. They inhabit the building, the forest, the marital bed, the written page that stretches to contain these things. Each life separate, but finding its resemblance in the others. Each an illusion they can enter at will. Information. The bears followed the trail of breadcrumbs into the forest. It led them to the house made of cake where the second princess slept. There was a door they could not open that kept them from finding her true meaning. Instead, they thought she was only there to be kissed and kissed and kissed again. Information. You may not know as much as you think you know. The room is set on wheels and carries them up the mountain. The mountain is not a real mountain. It hides a machine that resembles a man and a woman who are sort of wrestling. Information. Light enters the bear every day at 5 o'clock. It is the same bear they move outside when the weather is nice. The girls play silly games with it, but they are never considered silly girls. Information. She looks at him because she thinks he is looking at her, but he wasn't until it seemed she was looking at him, and he would look at her to see if she was looking at him, which of course confirmed what she had thought. Information. The bears belong to all of us. Sometimes we change them into ostriches for our amusement. At other times, we give them cars so they can drive through the forest and scare the frogs. The secret, of course, is that the bears are really afraid of the frogs. They know that a single frog kiss can change them forever into men like us. Men restless and bored and searching always for any distraction they can claim from the animals that always surround them. Information. The stranger is never more than the other side of the man who enters. They never recognize him until it is too late. Sometimes they think he is a chicken or a bear or a mushroom, but he is never any of these things. If he speaks, it is only because we need him to speak. If we do not listen, it is because we think we already know the answer. Information. Sometimes it is a light that changes them. Sometimes it is a random fold in a piece of paper, or the way a collar is buttoned. Sometimes it is a breeze that rises up unexpectedly. Sometimes it is a word the woman says in her sleep. Information. They speak the way their mothers spoke, the way their teachers spoke, the way they repeated what they heard before they knew what meaning was. Thank you, folks.
Bob, thank you so much, man. I can't believe that.
Thanks.
Everybody else, please, man. Anybody got something to say? I can't be the only one now.
Yeah, no, that absolutely brilliant. Just sort of conceptual Yoko Ono jazz slash whatever. It's just really, really great stuff. Just I put in the chat, you could take, some of these lines and just put them on a t-shirt or something. Or just a broadside and put up plaques or whatever on a wall and have those individual lines that are just so what did I say? I think I called it philosophy with jazz in it or something, just terrific stuff.
Lenny, I'd written down that it was like pointillism meets Picasso.
Yeah,
So,
right.
it's all in the same family here. Yeah.
I wrote a poem in 1997 when I first bought a computer called Information, and it's 1,012 lines long. It's about 22, 23 lines on each page. And all of the lines, I made up some, but most of the lines came from, because I just found out, the internet was brand new. And so I cut and I copied and pasted line after line but none of the lines are connected in any way. So there's a line from a song here. There's a piece of archaeology here, something from astronomy here. And none of the lines break to the second. It's all one line, period. And it just goes on and on. But yours reminds me of it, but yours is much more conceptual and philosophical and artistic in nature. Just really something else.
Thank you.
And hypnotic, Bob. There is something elevating and lulling about the way you deliver and what you are delivering as writing. It's it outstrips our ability in the chat to quote line after line. It's just so well crafted, and there is something hypnotic and also alluring about the cadence, the number of syllables, the metric feet. I found myself tapping with my index finger on my forearm as if I were trying to emulate your line breaks or something.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
I'll add that I heard Bob read for CAPS last year and was so taken by it. I pre-ordered his book, Washing the Wings of Angels, which he read from tonight. And it came, and as my friends know, I've got very limited shelf space. And he's on my shelf. I think he's next to Hirschfield. I'm not sure. Somewhere in there. But I'm not sure, maybe I missed it. If the link to that book isn't in the chat, so please put it up there.
I didn't put it up. I'll put up the information. It's available at Amazon, I believe, and also at asterism.com. So, but let me just, it's from Quale Press.
Tomorrow with your
And
Yeah, we'll get there the weekend.
Here we go.
What are you thinking? Like
We'll just get there. It's okay. Right. I'm gonna do this at the moment.
with you. Okay. With
Bob, I want to thank you again. Andrea, I want to thank you also. And of course, Roger, always. Thank you. Warm hand for our 3 features that help us to kick off 2025.
You guys are great.
If this is any harbinger of how good 2025 is going to be, I think we're in for a hell of a year. Thank you, guys. Thank you again. Before I open this up to the open mic, I just want to remind everybody that on January 16th, the wonderful LJ Cisco will be reading for us at 7 p.m. And on February 7th, our next First Friday, we have coming in from Ireland, Prativa Castle, and then local New Yorkers, Linda Macaulay Freeman and Harvey Sauce will be joining us. So if you can please, I've put it in the chat. So if you can join us, then please do. And let's begin that infamous open mic. And Michael LaBombarda, you're first. Come on up. Michael, you still with us? Uh-oh. Michael.
If you're here, you gotta unmute yourself, Michael.
Who, me?
But I'm not sure. No, not you, Mike. I don't think Michael is here.
I think he dropped off for some reason. Well, we'll come back to him. Margaret Condiles, you're next. Cool.
Thank you. I didn't realize I was second. Okay. I'm going to be brief because that's what we're doing tonight. Here's a very short one. I like to think about the whole world. I like to think about everything in it, but it's a little difficult because of the size. Meant to be funny. Okay. I don't have a title to this yet, but I sometimes and often want to lose myself, to blend with the atmosphere, to live in the flying dreams I often have. I'm not really like a bird. They fly with speed and intention, catch an insect, fly back, reach the nest, feed the young, protect and feed, and then protect. When I fly, in my dream, I hug a coastline, a rugged, rock-encased mountain of dirt. A mountain of dirt. When I fly, sort of like a bird, in my dream, I see the dirt underneath the encrusted rock. It's exhausted. The weight of rainfall and snowfall, it cannot hold. It doesn't. The descent of topical rock and dirt and water that the encrusted rock cannot hold, the encrusted rock, it cannot hold. It doesn't. When I fly in my dream, as if I'm a bird, I'm still looking for worms. And then this is a Christmas poem that I wrote right before Christmas. Every year I deck the halls with greens and berries of my origin. I tie slim red ribbons that curl and bounce on every doorknob. I sing with strings of white lights, strings of colored lights, and tiny, tiny bells. I sing. This year, I sing like the Druids, ancient Celtics, knowers of the oak trees, the Druids, my lifeblood, the teachers, the priests, the healers. This year, I bring the ancients to the table and listen. Thank you.
Margie, thank you as always. The man with the super library, Mr. Lenny Dellaroca.
Thank you, Mike, Greg, and featured readers. You guys just knocked it out of the park. I have a couple here. This one is After the Party on McKinley Street. And I think most of you maybe know, I take like real life stuff that happened, and I jazz it up. I kind of throw monkey wrenches into it. Anyway, after the party on McKinley Street, she pulled a tampon out of herself in the passenger seat and inserted a new one while I was taking her to the methadone clinic on Taft Street. Flung it out onto Federal Highway as we drove past Jack's Diner. When I asked, she said her mother was found in a friend's house in Dania. I remember her mother telling fortunes behind an old motel on Tiger Tail Lane under one of those ficus trees that dropped purple seeds on your clothes. And if you weren't careful, it stained them It was shady back there. She'd sit at a concrete table embedded with blue tiles about an inch square. I vaguely knew their friend Raphael. Never wore a shirt, burnished real good by the sun. After she pulled her jeans up, she leaned over and kissed me on the cheek. "You're a sweetheart," she said. "What happened to your mother?" I said. She said, "Do you have any money?" Cigarette kisses on her left arm. Homemade black tattoo said "The Angels Underground" on her neck. I gave her a 20. "I saw your mother only last week," I said. "You could leave me off here," she said, opening the door. Having her back at that party time duplex was a mistake. I looked in the rearview mirror, wiped a little dried blood from my upper lip. And this is the flashing of tambourines. We hear it coming before it appears, shimmering like sunfish from shadow into light, led by a woman with a flute. Behind her, a revelry of zealots with vesper flamingos, children with stones. A father puts his daughter on the ground and moves to follow them, but his wife throws her arm out. It's a powerful thing, this music, this procession of saboteurs in gym crack costumes. Most of the women lean in doorways. Rumors go mouth to ear that somewhere toward the end of the line is a caged king, almost naked. Fireworks make gold ornaments in the sky, and some of them rain down on roofs, catching fire. It would be magical if it didn't ruin half the town. This will be the last of its kind, this parade, these people from the last eclipse staggering toward the sun. I was only here to listen to a story, and then all this tree shine and goblins jigging into town. But I could love them all given half the chance, the ragged and joyous and evil. So I follow them over the next hill to catch them before they disappear. I run, smiling, lifting my arms like an idiot catching the clouds, making the air twirl with dust. Thanks.
Lenny, we got a few new people here tonight. You want to give them some info on Southern poetry and all the other stuff?
South Florida Poetry Journal. I founded South Florida Poetry Journal, SoFlo Pojo. They're open all the time. SoFloPojo.org. I'll put it in the chat. And we're always looking for submissions. We publish February, May, August, and November. We have poetry, flash, art, interviews, and etc. You could check it out.
Thanks, Lenny. Leslie Prosterman, you're next.
Leslie. Hey, thanks, Mike. And thanks to everybody, to the features and to the open micers that I've heard so far. It's really fantastic. I, of course, am partial to Bob's waterfalls, as I think of them. But everybody was amazing. So I'm just going to read one poem. This is first reading because I just wrote it. It's called On the Edge of This Year. Good morning. It's New Year's Day, and I've decided to stay in bed all day so I don't have to wash my hair before going out. Good morning. It's New Year's Day, and we have just read on the internet that cleaning your apartment or house on New Year's Day is bad luck. We bow to the wisdom of the internet. We leave the food stains mixed with rose petals on our damask tablecloth, recalling the exuberance of our friends celebrating a couple of monotheistic religions plus solstice. It is blowing hard outside on New Year's Day. In the midst of widespread unease across both sides of the congressional aisle, the unruly results of the Republican trifectas coming up, we remember that it's an ill wind that don't blow somebody some good somehow. I consider getting out of bed, putting on a hat. It is New Year's Day, wistfully blue out here on the eastern seaboard, with a daybreak shine of maroon-tinged gold shimmering off the fingers of slim branches, trees, winter naked to my appreciation. Rise up, on our toes, ready. Good morning.
Thank you, Leslie. Please join us again whenever you can. The one, the only, Mr. Stephen Roberts, you're next.
Okay, well, I have a couple of short poems that are sort of in draft yet, but here they go. This one is called Hope. I was looking for a dream. I thought I had one left, tucked away in heart's closet, hidden beneath the various deaths and reciprocated hurts. I looked for it the way you look for that morning drink, to keep your hands from trembling in the light. And finally, there it is, behind the celery and rotten lettuce in the fridge. And you're grateful it's so cold, and you consume it greedily, careful not to waste a drop. But when you're done, you're terrified, because there's nothing left. And the second one is short. History. The years spread slowly, then dripped and congealed like maple syrup on hotcakes now long gone cold. A breakfast made especially for me, but I was late to the table. That's it. Thanks.
Stephen, thank you, my friend. Thank you for the poetry. Thank you for supporting CAPS. All the way from the other side of the world. It might even be tomorrow there. I don't know, or it was yesterday. I can't tell. Maggie Hall, you're up.
Tomorrow, yesterday.
Is it
New
yesterday?
Year's Eve. Wow, what a bang.
Is it yesterday or tomorrow there?
It's tomorrow.
Sweet.
So just the other night, I put something on Facebook. It said contemplating suicide, and underneath it was it was a photo I took of myself with a bit of material over my face. But if you were to see the image, you wouldn't have known that. And so within moments, a neighbor came knocking on my door and sat down and talked me through just a state of mind. And at the same time, a friend from Japan was trying to contact me, but couldn't get through. And so he called the police from Japan to do a mental health check and visit on me. And approximately 4.5 hours later, after I found out what he'd done, the ambulance arrived and they took me away. But I was perfectly fine. In fact, I was just about to fall asleep. And they took me to the local hospital where there's a mental health unit. They can section you or not. And I was there and I waited for a couple of hours. And while I was there, I met some people who had been brought in, and I spoke with them. I talked to them, and that was what I did in my 3 hours before they let me go, and very nicely paid for a cab to pick me up from the front of the hospital and take me home. So that's just a little bit about my mind over the past 24, 48 hours. I was looking through my books thinking, what am I going to read? What am I going to do? And I came across this one. It's Maggie Hall Busy Book. And it was when I was in London, England, very young. And I sort of a quick look through, and then I saw this, and I know you can't read it because it's all back, but it's in my class, I had written Tuesday, we are going to see the Queen, because my class was going to see the Queen in her bubble car pass by the Silver Jubilee, and I think I have mentioned before about I had a seizure the day before we were meant to do that and ended up in hospital and watching it from the window. And it was just when I saw this and I saw what I'd written, so this was before I had my seizure. and I was looking forward to seeing the Queen. And then the last page, and then there's nothing after that. There's I've done a zebra zip, which just doesn't really look like a zip, it looks like a rocket, but there you go. Then there's the zoo. I don't know if you can see that. Then there's the zoo. And the very last one is Zebedee, because I used to love watching the Magic Roundabout, not knowing then that each of the characters was named after a psychedelic drug at the time of the time. So that was foreseeing my future, taking drugs. Okay. I'm actually going to read, the first thing I'm going to read, and the is not mine. I found it in a book, old book, sort of magazine. And I think this page is about fashion, but here is author unknown and titled Myself. I have to live with myself, and so I want to be fit for myself to know. I want to be able, as times go by, or as days go by, always to look myself straight in the eye. I don't want to stand with the setting sun and hate myself for things I've done. I want to go out with my head erect. I want to deserve all men's respect. But here in the struggle for fame and self, I want to be able to like myself. I don't want to look at myself and know that I'm bluster and bluff, an empty show. I never can hide myself from me. I see what others may never see. I know what others may never know. I never can fool myself, and so, whatever happens, I want to be self-respecting and conscious free. I just thought, I just quickly saw it and thought, whoa, that's quite, Anyway, author unknown. Now I'll just quickly, I hope I haven't taken up too much time waffling. And I'm calling this lot of a remix, and I'm calling it Portrait of a Talisman. Whispers clip each side of a velvet cloak, holding material around a neck that embraces the back of a face we will never see, but may be heard in another's voice. Oh, that was just my sort of response to that thing. And very quickly, these are things I've done, and I just quickly edited them. The cats. She adores his fur, he worships her skin. White paws rest on her outstretched limbs. The two become one. His head rests on her belly as they lay transformed through ritualistic energy. This one is enchanting. There is an urn that holds a heart wrapped in a feather, to cover each sin, to hold a throne, to keep their stories that cover the stone, which holds the wind that keeps the cross from falling. Pause. Painting in a church by the sea. Sweet coffee killed a rose for split tea. It only works if you close your mind. Tomorrow's salt thrown into another's eye. Computer waves, love or hate. Nuclear mushrooms, spreading peace. Intergalactic dreaming, cut and paste. Trapped in the palette of a painting, touched by the oil of sea. Yeah. Yay.
Thanks, Maggie.
Thank you.
Love you, Maggie.
I love you all so much.
Take very good care of yourself now.
Ah.
Yeah.
I'm only here because of you.
Aww.
You're valued to us.
Well, we're glad we can be here for you. Thanks, Maggie.
Maggie, that poem about the heart wrapped in a feather reminded me of Emily Dickinson.
Higher praise. Naomi Bindman, you're next.
Bindman.
Bindman, I'm sorry.
I don't know which one.
Right, he got it right this time.
Woohoo!
Voodoo.
Sorry, I wasn't quite prepared. All right, I would like to do just one because it's on the longer side. I've read this before, but not for a while. And was reminded by one of Andrea's poems that brought it to my mind. So here we go. It's called Senescence. Grandma, how old are you? She stops, faces me, states, I am 55 years old. I am 5, astonished by such a number. That's old, I exclaim, my eyes wide. Well, if I'm so old, she offers me the vacuum cleaner, maybe you should do this. At 10, I wait for a bus beside a wilted man drooped over a white cane. He tells me stories of dirt roads, trolley cars, meadows, woods where buildings now stand. Does he know he's old, I wonder? What does it feel like? At 29, I give birth. To my daughter, I am omniscient and omnipotent. To myself, I'm just trying to figure it all out. At 36, I am the age my mother lived to. My train of thought occasionally leaves without me. I tell this to my grandmother. Oh, Kuchki, she smiles, you're still just a baby. Each morning in the dappled woods, the cycle of birth and decay persists, a symphony of translucent greens lighting the tips of trees, folded honeysuckle buds cupped like hands in prayer, holding only hope burst open like tiny flames, flinging their fragrance through the damp air, then shrivel, leaving delicate pistils to ripen into fruit. I leave flowers, feathers, and heartstones, my daughter's ashes already blended into soil. I am 5 years past how old Grandma was the day of the vacuuming faux pas. I'm just starting to figure things out. My friends and I watch each other age, bespeckled and bespectacled, breasts amputated, hearts restarted, moles and wombs excised, eyes cloud, insight deepens, bellies soften, backs ache, hips and knees replace. Still we march, teach, write, sing, do yoga, eat yogurt. Friends inflict photos of grandchildren. We're in pretty good shape for the shape we're in, one says. Now she is dead. Trees spend 1/3 of their lives dying. Throughout winter, brittle beech leaves cling fiercely, paling to lace, then wave like first flowers until spear-tipped buds, pointed like a calligrapher's brush, nudge them finally aside, unwrapping silky newborn skin as last year's leftover foliage melts into the moldering blanket, reticulate with microscopic lifelines, whose bodies fruit from the same disintegrating trees. The mostly rotted trunk of an ancient maple, older than my grandmother by several greats, houses red squirrels, bluebirds, and brown-eyed barred owls. A pileated woodpecker feeds on the feast of insects, in turn feasting on the tree's flesh. Yet one large limb still greens, still blossoms, releases gossamer wings curling to the humus fed from the deep loam of her own mulch and by the invisible mycelial web nourishing offspring sprouting around her. I too am in my last third. I can answer some of my own questions. I know I am never going to figure it all out. Every morning, the stranger in the mirror startles me. A slumped form and vaguely reptilian face peers back. Lines where none were yesterday, spots and sags, loose, softly wrinkled hands like my grandmother's, the grandmother I can never be.
like the fading beauty of the withering leaves. Thanks.
Nice one.
Thank you.
Thank
It's
you,
good.
Neil.
Yeah, well,
All right. Naomi began Murderer's Row, and we'll continue. Ken Holland, you're next.
Well, I'll do high accolades to the features. This was nuts, and the open mic has been right up there. So, Maggie, just to say that poem about the Queen and the oddity that somewhat recently I wrote a poem called "And the Queen Waves Back," and it's kind of crazy how much a similarity there of elements there are there. Having said that, there's a poem that's got something of winter in it. It's called Propulsion. A night cold enough to punch a hole in one, if not both lobes of your lungs. Last call came and went, and the barman since flashed the lights, but no one's moved towards the door. The cold's carried on a wind that's trying to achieve some form of escape velocity. Its propulsion industrial. The drone of a night shift pushing through the machine hours of pulseless repetition. The bar itself lifts 2 or 3 inches off the ground. The collective sanity of support beams slipping their foundations. The lights cut out like a promise that's been kept. It's not the electric that's failed, but something more personal. And the building shimmies another few inches up into the dark. It's by habit the barman takes the bat to hand. Whatever's banging at the door is doing so with the insistence of getting in or getting out. And within, the stilled posture of men laid off by their wives, and the image of a dog forever grinning above its food bowl. Something snaps, bone but not bone, something architectural, and the bar levitates another foot like any shadow that lets go its gravity, as most life forms do when looking for first light, for a different body to inhabit, as the wind does when it speaks only to itself. So the second poem, I think only, if Guy's still out there, I think only Guy's heard this. Did not set out to, to write a poem about the election, but the morning after, what can you say, was in the air. Very short. I think the title's longer than the poem. The title is "The Message That's Now Messaging on My Answering Machine," November 6th, 2024. Hello. Sorry to have missed your call. The country is currently dead to me. Please call back during normal business hours. There you go. Happy New Year for what we can make of it. Thank you for listening.
Thanks, Ken. Karen Nueberg is still with us. Karen, say yes. Karen, say yes. Karen, I think Karen dropped off. Okay, that would leave me. All right, so let's read this new one. All right, let's not get crazy. It's titled "The Charming Ineptness You've Taken to Heart," and it goes something like this. Good number. That's Emily in the background. And this is called "The Charming Ineptness You've Taken to Heart." Dates back to autumn of 1882, when, in the crimson goodness of Trinity Church, the first of my forebears was panning for poetry and gold amid the gilded squatter. As if vandal stars had fallen from God's busy hands, Tip-sheet Jones moved about the lower borough like the crackling new current that lit up Pearl Street. Through the roil and rumble of a city divining itself, he ran his book and wrote his verse neath the hanging tree in Washington Square. He considered the warm, waning afternoon light, the golden cast of God's smile. In his bowler and shabby frock, he took his poems to the hometown papers, rashly establishing a down-the-decades pattern of editorial rejection leading to me. Yours truly, who, as we speak, is pitching this one to the latest guest editor with a $10 reading fee. When the pennies proved few from Waverly readings, he took whatever poor boy gigs he could gather. Grave digger, sewer trencher, muck diver, and wooed almond-eyed Angelina Francesco into marriage, 3 kids, and a lot of talk about better days. About workers not living, loving, and loitering like thieves. About children without factory fever. Streets without blood and grieving. About a day when the sun would shine and everyone and the city would know its true honor. Thank you, everybody.
Oh, hell yeah.
All right.
Oh, hell yeah.
Our next open micer is Cindy Hochman. You're next.
That could be one of the best pieces.
Okay. I actually wasn't going to read, but I think it makes sense since you all know that I do collaborate with the great Bob Heman to read one of our collaborations. This one was turned down by Rattle magazine because they have no taste. It's number 209. Bob and I have a book of collaboration called The Number 5 is Always Suspect, but this one isn't from that book. That book contained poems with 14 lines, but we've been doing 8 lines. So this is number 209. The island only a pause in the ocean. The ocean only a chasm under the bridge. The small boat no more than a dream. The larger boat no more than a wish. Our own bodies both when the tide arrives, riding the waves in our own special ways. The ocean inside each one of us, perpetually searching for islands of calm. I think that's appropriate for these days, huh? Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year, Cindy. Thank you, as always. John Levy, did you want to read? John, you still with us?
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Sure. That was wonderful listening to the featured readers. Wonderful. I'm just going to read one called Everyone Knows That Person. Everyone knows that person who says, after meeting a person who mentions writing poems, that I wouldn't read another poem if you paid me $1 million. I had to read them for homework and listen to what they were supposed to mean and try to scan the little bleeps. Nice to meet you, but don't bother giving me any of your poems and don't recite one either. No, I'm not a plumber, though I'm flattered you think I look like one. I'm easily flattered, but I wouldn't be flattered if you had told me I look like a poet. No, I don't usually give monologues. No, I have nothing against writers, even if they write poetry. But excuse me, I'm going over to that window now because I love any and all views. And yes, it is a polite way of saying goodbye, and don't conversate with me anymore in either of our lifetimes. Oh, the afterlife? Don't pry. But yes, perhaps I did imply that I believe in it. No, you don't have my permission to quote me in a poem. Thank you.
John, good to see you again. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Who's next? Guy Reed, the one, the only. You're up, buddy.
Hey. Hi. Happy New Year. What do they say? It's difficult to get the news from poetry. But today, William Carlos Williams didn't have caps. Tonight was one of those readings. Fantastic. I found some, I was looking at some older poems just because it's fun to find poems you've forgotten about. Probably read these before, but it's been a very long time. Two short ones. The Plane. Flight home from California. Cramped, shuffled passengers boarded and buckled into flotation devices. The engines roar. Acceleration sets fictitious physical forces against us. Breathe. Now it's only time. Time and space that bend, which need to pass around us while we remain stationary, dreaming our dream. And the more humorous one. It's all in the translation. Known as a sleep talker among the few lovers I had in those days, conversations with me while I appeared awake in the night I would not recall the next day. No one was ever angry or hurt, so I must have kept a measure of decorum. Perhaps the sleeping are only speaking with themselves, a babble in effort to conceal secrets, like the night I fought an intense battle, not unlike World War II, an advancing foe. From my backyard bunker I yelled, urgent in my dream, more grenades! I need more grenades! It was a matter of life and death. In the morning, my companion inquired about my dream, saying I woke her up, looked at her, and shouted, tennis balls! I need more tennis balls! Thank you.
Nah, I like the need for more grenades better.
Yeah. Well,
Thanks.
I don't know, tennis balls. Maybe it was trying to say something about the game of love I was involved in.
Well, grenades can be the same. You know.
They can.
We'll take that up on another time. Thanks, Guy. Always, Guy will be reading with Will Nixon on next Saturday, the 11th, 2 p.m. Woodstock Poetry Society. Is he still Zooming too? As long as with the
Yeah, he sent out a thing. You may have to request the Zoom link from him prior. But if you go to Woodstock, I think it was woodstockpoetry.com.
Yep.
You can get all the info there.
Cool. Put it in the chat if you want to. And our next open micer, Lisa St. John, you still with us? Lisa, don't let us down. You still with us? Sounds like Lisa bailed.
I think not. Yeah, I don't think she's here.
John Bartell, are you still with us?
I am.
You're next.
All right. So my first poem is called Les Miserables. I suppose it's a bit trite to say, she said, holding on to her glass of wine like she held her cello. And I don't mean physically. One cannot and must not hold a glass of wine with one hand caressing the neck and the other clutching a bow, sliding it across the rim of the crystal, for its vibrations, I fear, would cause irreparable damage to the coalescence of fruit forwardness. So what I mean to say is, she held it with love, as if her appreciation for the grape, for the vintner, for the sun would crescendo and leave her empty if she thought about it too long. She held the glass as such and said, it's a bit trite, but my favorite musical is Les Mis, but not the one that brings a torrent of tears every time, not the one that pulls back the curtain and delivers a certain humanity. That I just can't take, not today. The version I like best is the one my kids put on in the backyard, giggling and wearing crowns and carrying swords back when they believed in magic and animals delivering candy and fairies leaving behind 2 bits, back before the sun warmed the vineyard. And my second one is a little Christmas thing. It's called Holiday Greetings, and I wrote it after reading our incoming president's lovely little social media message. I was told to expect a large present, something the size of, say, Greenland. I was told that it was the day Jesus Christ, the Prince of Peace, was born. I was told that love is patient. I was told that love is kind, that Jesus hates fags and God hates queers. I was told not to covet Greenland, not to covet my neighbor's wife, which, believe me, I do not. I was told I do. I was told to say I do. I was told so much blood is to be expected. I was told I had lost consciousness when a 15-gauge needle pierced the flesh of the woman I love. I was told that all the money is gone. I was told he's in rehab now, bath salts evidently. I was told, well, I'll go to hell, though those things didn't necessarily happen in that order. I told my wife I would love to go to Greenland, no matter who owns those people, to see puffins wing past glaciers that are now half the size they were when I was born. I was told that's a lie. I was told it doesn't matter. I was told who cares. I was told I should care. I was told it will destroy the world. I was told if only I answered their emails, if only I gave them money, they could save the polar bear, the walrus, the puffins. They were told to go to hell on Christmas Day, while outside my window, chickadees gathered seeds from dying volunteer sunflowers, planted and nurtured by the whimsical hands of God. Thank you.
John, always great to see you, man. Thank you. And we gotta get you a feature one of these days. Thanks, John.
All right, thanks.
Our next reader, Mr. Ron Bremner. Come on up, buddy.
Okay. This piece was published twice. The first time in Muddy River Poetry Review, and the second time in the County Clare and Beyond anthology, which is going to be launched tomorrow. It's called Perahera Festival, Kandy, Sri Lanka, 2001. In the town of Kandy with a K, the Temple of the Tooth braces in the wind. In the temple resides a tooth of the Buddha. Legend says that the tooth was smuggled out of India in the hair of a courtesan. In the cool of dawn, the morning call to prayer whistles down the mountain. Elephants sleep before their parade in the streets. This morning, one of them will have the honor of carrying the tooth. My wife begs my in-laws to not speak their ethnic minority language in this majority stronghold, but they ignore her as we sip our candy and tea on the veranda of our rest house, having slipped out of Colombo before the governmental curfew and the riots scheduled for last night. On Alice Place, where angry and troubled trishaw drivers met to argue their strike. And at the other end of the street, the jail that holds in one cell ethnic minority Tamils, beaten, battered, but not broken. And in the other cell, Marxist JVP rebels awaiting the expected coming of their bloodthirsty saviors. And for my second poem, something a little different. You can do art. Make the phone calls. Latin is alone with you. The original messenger cracked. Everyone in town wants joy, but gets a professor. I hear the sound of elements and a cup of brown. The indifference engine estimated a monkey's time. It is a 76% certainty that the coffee achiever has cleaned his vehicle. This piano plays sketches of bones. A little puppet on a string drinks green beer in this town. House cats from Elysian fields want to spend the next year in Jerusalem. Sea fans club a blood rock during the night. There is nothing left to lose for winners with no heritage. And finally, children sometimes wear wires on their heads. Thank you and have a pleasant evening.
Ron, thank you, man. Always as always, man. Thank you. Ron Bremner, everybody. He'll be featuring for us sometime in the future. Our next reader, the one, the only, a Cap's favorite, Miss Amanda Russell. You're up, Miranda.
Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna read these two. These are really new, so I'm just gonna preface with that. This one is called Figurines. This year, Mary and Joseph took the Barbie dream boat to Bethlehem, where baby Jesus was already the golden needle in the haystack of history, gleaming and sharp the way all poems arrive, this one included. School will start in 30 minutes, and ready we were not. Put your arm through the hole, turn around and I'll zip you up, I said to her, but she's 6 and busy pretending to be a puppy dog at Princess Camp, and for this, she needs not her navy and red school uniform dress, but the pink foam tiara she glued her name onto last summer at Princess Camp. Untangle it, she demands, and this poem comes barging into the world. In our house this year, Mary and Joseph took the Barbie dream boat to Bethlehem, and with my writing hand, I zip the back of her dress, though she is wagging her tail and telling me I love Princess Camp and untangle this. My pincer grasp enters the conversation between her pink foam tiara and the black necklace string of binoculars from that souvenir shop in Glen Rose, Texas, where dinosaur footprints still line the Paluxy River, footprints only visible when the water's clear-headed. So after separating the tiara from the binoculars, I separate myself to sit down and untangle this poem from the fullness of gotta leave in 10 minutes, when my husband bursts in with a goodbye kiss and be sure to double check the kids' shoelaces. And I didn't check the shoelaces, not even once, because this year, Mary and Joseph took the Barbie dream boat to Bethlehem, and what if they never make it? From my daughter's room to the tiny plastic manger under the living room love seat, where baby Jesus was already practicing Tong Lin like a mountain of mythic proportions, already knowing what it is to be the light of the world in a genie's lamp with no wick, to enter a story that needs much, but first you must learn to be human. We are trying to make you into a human being, the priest said to me, and I'm not mad about potential anymore, because untangle this. And who hasn't been the car that crashed into the car that held their everything? Never mind that come as you are is the line most often sung by Kurt Cobain in churches. It is still the hardest thing to do. But here we are, 2 kids and a driver, zipping down the interstate with our trinity of backpacks and leaky water bottles, with apples and peanut-free sandwiches, and as much of ourselves as we can carry, U-turning in a school zone, while Joseph and Mary ride the Barbie dreamboat to some holy cave of hope. But here we are now. My daughter climbing out of the car with her backpack and lunchbox and water bottle, wearing her plaid dress and the pink Princess Camp tiara. She is no longer pretending to wag her tail. She is waving her hand like Miss America, or the flame of a candle just lit, knowing nothing of wicks or wax or time, but only pure combustible light. Okay, thank you. And this poem is, that was my Christmas poem, right? It's not really Christmas, but close as I can get. This one is my New Year's Eve poem. It's called I Hate the Word. I hate the word ochre and feel sometimes like I'm living a tragedy in which the only bad guy is me. I'm a poet who hates poetic words like ochre and obsidian and cerulean. But if poets forget these words, then everyone would forget that the color of Medea's despair and hands were one. The name for the color of clear water on a clear day would dive off the cliff of memory, and the color of cliched joys would be confused with the color of the eyes of the girl in the basket weaving class I still want to take. On the moon's night off, Earth is ochre in both the cerulean and the obsidian lights. It's like if I gotta hate on something, why not a word that fills a language hole that has been overflowing for eons, like red and yellow and brown, earthy as heaven and hell? Tell me how one word can mean so much, and you'll know how it can mean feeling the most. No one uses the word ochre for its color. Even cerulean was not paired with blue until 1860, when the first industrial revolution had turned air into lava, glass, aka obsidian. I hate these words so much that I feel cerulean about taking them to breakfast and letting them watch me discolor my obsidian coffee with cream until it's ochre. I want to keep them close enough to keep hating on them. I even hate the joy and crime of my obsidian tendency to be cerulean about my ochreness. If time is a mother, then why doesn't she hold us closer? And who is the father of the holy ghosted names of things we hate on? If even light is a variable, then variation itself becomes the next death and taxes. If you water it, they will come. If you build it, they will debt. I may never buy a house, but I will sit next to my love as the old year shivers, putting on its new shirt. I will sit with him under a sky painted the only color that doesn't react to light, and watch the dopamine rise as he sips cerulean coffee from his obsidian mug and searches the phone screen with his ochre fingertips, his deep eyes. Thank you.
No, thank you. Amanda Russell, everybody. Thank you, Amanda.
And Amanda, check out the chat.
Yes, please. Both of them were awesome, but I think that last one kind of ochred me away, I think. Thank you. Dr. Michael Ingram, are you still with us? I think Michael left. All right, our last featured reader, our last open mic reader is Mr. Greg Carell, who welcomed everybody earlier in the evening. Greg, you're up.
One poem called Wind Rattles Glass. Listening to bloody warblers, reading how habit hides the universe. I don't remember this body of mine, but I know my habits, and you are one. Here's another. In a bar in 1973, I felt his left collarbone break under my right hand. I saw him go pale, pass out in the red vinyl light. Whenever I hurt someone, I want to do it again. Suddenly those damn warblers, and now a catbird, an impatient Satan, like August heat itself, chasing me down, making me confess. When I hurt someone's bone, I pat them. They're there. You aren't in danger anymore. It's my habit, even though it was just that once. Before I hit him, though, I saw him sideways. His leer, his juniper oil lips, his baby fat cheeks. And maybe in that moment, the universe insisted on being read and understood, all 7 volumes at a gallop, so fueled with reefer and mini bennies and my underage drink. Maybe the universe declared, you must hurt him and he must be hurt. I don't know. I have habits. I keep them up, and the universe can long for me now. Haven't broken a bone since 1973. Glass rattles wind.
Oh, Greg, I love your face.
Mr. Greg Carell,
I
everybody.
love your face, Greg. I do.
Let's have a special thank you.
Oh.
Let's have a special thank you for our features, Roger, Aplon, Bob Heman, and
Nicely
Andrea
done,
Deeken.
everyone. I was listening from afar.
And this is Emily, everybody. For those of you who don't know. And thank you, everyone. Please unmute yourselves, say a few kind words, say whatever you want to say. Thank you for making the first caps of 2025 special as always. Thank you.
Wonderful stuff tonight.
Really nice, really great.
Yeah, thanks everyone. This was awesome. You guys are incredible poets and people.
It's a great reading.
Good job.
Wonderful reading. I think it made my COVID better.
That's what we want to do.
Yeah.
We're better than
Cure
Pax.
for COVID here.
Our job is done.
Our job is done. We're better than Paxlovid. There you go.
See everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lenny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Happy New Year.
Feel better
I'll
now.
see you all soon.
Thank
We'll be
you.
back on
All
January
right. Take
16th.
care.
My
Like a
love.
Mrs.
Good night,
New York
everybody.
Queen.
You're a
Thank you
family.
all.
Good night, folks. It was a pleasure.
All right.
Night.
Andrea,
Bye-bye.
thank you again. John, thank you again. We will return.
Thank you. Bye.
Andrea. Thanks a lot. Greg, another great. Thank you. Cindy,
Greg, Mike.
Stephen, thank you. Happy New Year, everybody.
Yep. Happy New Year.